and the environment as one of the global concerns. So, what are the global concerns here? What are the issues of global concern? Why do we say it's a issue of global concern? Because the global concern, which is worldwide, the global phenomena. So it is named because the impacts and the damages that not only affect that particular country but also cause problems beyond the national boundaries, and that has been extended to the global scale here. Okay, so the solutions for this global concerns are nothing but a big problems, are nothing but a big issues that's been going on. So for these solutions, they require efforts from the international level, not from their own country itself, but they require from the international level, and they actually require a good cooperation among those nations. So these issues of global concern are directly affecting the whole of the global community. Global community is nothing but the world here, and also the environment here. So here, as a matter that it has been affecting adversely the whole of the globe, and that issues are actually interrelated, that are related to each other. And so none of the any single issue can be analyzed, can be treated, or been isolated from the each other. For example, if we see the issue of this climate change is directly or adversely affecting the biodiversity, because the rising climate change concerns are causing the biodiversity harm here. Likewise, we can say within the biodiversity we have our forest and animals, which is impacting them. So this deforestation are also affecting the biodiversity, the cutting down of the trees, that is adversely affecting the biodiversity, because trees gives us a lot of benefits and they protect our environment. And if that trees have been removed, and that is also causing the animals who have been living in that natural habitat a big harm. So this issues of global concern also it differs from one institution to the another institution. So the United Nations has identified few of the global issues. Those are like war on terror, world hunger, poverty, food and agriculture, health, human rights, nuclear weapons, foreign aid for development assistance. Foreign aid we generally get from United Nations and some of the institutions or from the another countries as such. So one more issues are like arms control, trade, transnational corporations, disasters, natural disasters, geopolitics, sustainable development, and energy, environment, and many are been regarded as the global issues by the United Nations. So within this chapter, we will now see one two of the main concerns, which is one is energy and another is the environment. Let us proceed with the energy now. So we know it is a very much fundamental prosperity of the all nations energy, and that has put as an essential thing for the economic activity. So the energy's production, distribution, and utilization are deeply seen within the world economies here. So this energy is actually referred as the usable power that we are using in the name as a energy here. So the energy sources are renewable and the non-renewable. They are actually powering our societies, and that has been seen from a period of rapid change here. So the 20th century has witnessed a very great increase in the global population. We know how the population has been increasing day on day, and the economic output and the energy resources consumption. Okay, so there is a large increase in these things because population has been growing. We have to contribute something for that, and the population requires something. So that's what there has been a increasing in these things, economic output and energy resources consumptions here. So the global environment supply and this consumption, how much we are using, is not actually properly distributed. This is unevenly distributed. Okay, so we know energies are of two types, which is renewable energy and the non-renewable energy. Renewable energy is nothing but which can be renewed, which can be used again and again, whereas the non-renewable energy is like we cannot use it and it cannot be renewed. So solar energy, geothermal energy, wind energy, tidal energy, wave, biomass energy are the examples of the renewable energy. So fossil fuels are the one of the example of non-renewable energy, because once the fossil fuels are actually deplemented, it is a kind of depletion that we found underground in our earth's surfaces, and that are very scarce. Once we cannot use those fossil fuels again and again, which are very uh, scarce here. So that's what that is a non-renewable energy. Examples are like petrol, diesel, coal, kerosene, LPG. These are actually utilized in the industrial transport and the domestic activities or the housing activities. So let us now understand the non-renewable energy sources. So many of these non-renewable energy sources are the fossil fuels, which are the crude oil, coal, natural gas. These are considered to be fossil fuels because they have been formed by from the fossil. They have been buried. How they have been buried? Because of the long time happenings that has happened, and that has been buried within the layer of our Earth's surfaces, and also with the animals that has lived. So that is how it has that animals that has been lived many millions of years ago, and within them these fossil fuels has been fossilized actually, and that is been remained under the surface of the earth here, and that's how it is creating the fossil fuels. So these fossil fuels have very high carbon content because of their origins. So this crude oil we have all we generally hear in when we talk about the petroleum perspective. This crude oil or the petroleum is called as rock oil in the Latin. So this is a kind of liquid kind of fusion foil, which is of hydrocarbons, hydrogen, and the carbon compounds. So oil is the key energy source of this. We know how oil is been key energy source in the present civilization, and this is useful to fuel the transport system. You know how petroleum utilizes in the transport for our cars, buses, trains, and many things that we use here. So this has been extracted and turned into this crude oil has been extracted and it's turned into many varieties of fuels, which include petrol or the gasoline and diesel, etc. That is how it has been extracted from the crude oil. So this fuel is been a non-renewable and it has lot of immense wealth associated with it, and there is a lot of oil that has been generating the political struggle also that needs to control it. So this history of petroleum is a history of war and struggle here actually. This is actually in the case of struggle between the West Asia and the Central Asia. Okay, so this coal is Now we have seen crude oil and the petroleum. Now we'll see about the coal here. So coal is nothing but an again a organic matter that is been decomposed and which has been formed into carbon rocks. So which we see again beneath the surface of the earth only. So this coal is been a highly combustible, which can be utilized in the burning purposes. Mainly we do see, and it is used for the generation of electricity or the electrical generation. So burning coal releases massive amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That is a very primary factor it of greenhouse effect. In addition to this greenhouse effect, coal cannot be reproduced. Okay, so also there is a byproduct of decomposition. Byproduct is nothing but something is been getting with something has been made with the product. So natural gas is mostly the methane one that is been created as a organic matter that has been decayed. So once that gas has been extracted, this natural gas removes everything but the methane, remains. So this produces a varieties of other natural gases such as ethane, propane, butane, which are also used as the fuels here. Okay. So these natural gases are actually used to heat homes and businesses, and it also fuels our stoves that we are actually utilize the LPG stoves or the LPG gas cylinders that we have. So this is a non-renewable energy because it is a byproduct that is been creating from one of the product, and that has been byproduct from the thousands of years of the decomposition within the Earth's crust here that we tend to see um, here. So next we have the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is actually formed with the atoms and the ion compounds that we see, and it is like a renewable power sources like this wind, solar energy, and it is a very clean energy. So it is also environmentally sound and this and than the coal here. Okay, so this nuclear energy, in fact, a non-renewable energy because it is limitedly utilized. So now we'll see what are the problems of non-renewable energy sources, the fossil fuels. One is the land degradation. Because of the land degradation, we tend to see where this biophysical environment has been affected by the combination of the human induced. See how humans have been spoiling the earth surfaces, the land that has been there. So we are actually doing digging and we are making factories. That's how land degradation has been going, and the unearthing processes, the long digging of the earths, and that's how moving the underground oil, gas, and coal that actually affects the ecosystems. Once you are utilizing those processes, it generally affects the earth and the earth system that has been built. It is may tend to produce some another effects. Likewise, we tend to see in the recent scenarios is the earthquake. Because of the long drillings, there will be a tectonic change that we observe within the layers of the earth, which has been causing by the land degradation itself. And where this fossil fuel industry is actually leasing vast stretches of land, vast land infrastructures for the waste storage, for the processing, and for the waste disposal. We know how a long land is been taken for the dumping of our garbage, and within that garbage that we tend to have the plastic as one of the concern. So plastic cannot be decomposed easily and within a few years. It takes many long years, many million of years to get decomposed in the soil here. So that's what it has been stretching. The fossil fuel industry has been stretching for the waste disposals here, and that has been leading to the land degradation. As a result, what is happening? The wildlife habitat is been destroyed. Next, we have the water pollution. So this coal, oil, and gas, it develop. a threat to our waterways and also for the groundwater, because the coal mining operations that actually makes a acid runoff. With that coal mining, there will be a few acids that is been producing, and that will be moved towards the rivers and lakes, where it will cause harm for the rivers and lake. And also there will be a fracking done, and there will be oil spills or the leaks in the long ships that we tend to see. They carry oil from one ocean to the another ocean, where there will be a leakage. So that is causing the um, threat to the what's it, the fishes, also the water, that is spoiling the water, and that is also spoiling the life uh, down the see here. And that is also as the acid runoff is been streaming into the rivers and lakes, that is also transporting the pollution towards the, and it is actually polluting the drinking water sources as well. The next we have the air pollution. So fossil fuels, it actually emits the high air pollutants, and these air pollutants include benzene. We actually have heard about benzene that is been causing the leukemia and the blood disorders. A high amount of benzene, if there is there, it causes leukemia and it causes the blood disorders. This is highly related to the blood stream here, where it causes our blood and our functioning of the blood system. It harms our blood system as well. Next, we have the formaldehyde, and that is a actually cancer-causing chemical. So air pollutions include this benzene and the formaldehyde, and these mining operations are actually generating toxic airborne particles within the air here. And the fossil fuels that has been powered by the cars, trucks, boats are the main contributors. As we drive trucks, it produces the some kind of gases out, and boats also, and that is been contributing for the poisonous carbon monoxide and the nitrogen oxide, which is leading for the air pollution. Next we have the global warming. So when we burn this oil, coal, gas, it is not only meeting our energy needs, but also it is going and it is driving towards the global warming as well. How? Because fossil fuels are actually producing a large quantities of the carbon dioxide. So because of this carbon dioxide, the carbon emissions which have been produced by this oil, coal and gas, that has been trapped within the atmosphere, and that is leading to the climate change. The increasing heat that is been trapped, the carbon emissions that is trapping the heat in the atmosphere, and hence it is leading the climate change, and that's how there is an increase in the CO2 emissions causing the global warming around the earth here. We have next the ocean acidification. What is ocean acidification? When we burn this oil, coal, gas, so the ocean based chemistries, it is making more much acidic, and our sea is absorbing such carbon releases. As this industrial revolution has started, the our ocean has become 30% more acidic, because you see how they are what's it, digging, how they are taking the oil from the oceans. So that's what it is making the acidic there. As there will be a few oil spills that can be seen, or there can be a few burns that is making little acidic there. The chemicals that they are um, taking from the beneath of the under the ocean surfaces. So as the acid water is going up, the amount of calcium carbonate is also going down. So that's what it is affecting the sea foods here, because the seafoods that we get, obviously we can't eat if it is acid, and also it is harming for the sea animals and the sea um what's it, sea plants that we tend to see underneath, and that is causing them to fade away. Next we have the acid rain. So this, when the coal burns, it produces like a carbon dioxide, and those gases are releasing in the atmosphere. And the coal that has been burning, that is producing gases like other gases like sulfur dioxide and some nitrogen oxides, they actually dissolve in water. And then what happens? There will be a earth, and return to that earth, it comes as a acid rain. We tend to see in many of the states, there will be a acid rain causing very harm to the water and as well, and also for the trees and plants. It cannot survive because it's an acid that is affecting a large areas of forest, and also the vegetation is been killed because the acid, we know how harmful and how burning it will be and how hazardous it would be. So let now understand the environment. So that was your energy. Now we'll see the environment as a global concern here. So this environment actually constitute of all the physical, chemical, biotic, and the cultural factors that actually affects our living organisms, or the life of organisms. So it is a kind of or a combination of all those ecological relationships that is been existing on the earth here, and that is been related to the surroundings among themselves. So the only species which has been come from nature is the Homo sapiens. The Homo sapiens is nothing but the man. The today man has been emerged from most successful creature on the earth. So to get that maximum extraction from the nature, the nature has caused environmental concerns. So the environmental consequences of economic growth are actually acquired with the political character from the 1960s onwards. Since then, since the 1960s, there has been a very significant focus on the emerging of this significant issue of global politics, the environmental concerns. And the environmental concerns or the issues has attracted attention towards whole of the international agencies as such, including the United Nations. So the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm, 1972, is a landmark for this environmental discussions, and the World Organization has also gave much attention to this environmental concerns here. As such, since this environmental within that Earth Summit of 1992 only, we tend to see there is a much concern that is been focused on the environmental issues. So the World Bank, the UNEP, and the NASA, they have jointly ventured the procedure of a scientific reports that is been entitled as Protecting Our Planet, Securing Our Future in the 1998. So this report has been focused on the 8 critical issues. What are those? Global climate change, loss of biological diversity, stratospheric ozone depletion, freshwater degradation, desertification, and the land degradation, and deforestation and the sustainable use of forests, marine environment and the resource degradation, and the persistent organic pollutants. So we'll now see the greenhouse effects. So as a matter of environmental concern, we'll see the greenhouse effects here. So what is greenhouse effect? As the rise in temperature on the earth, as certain gases in the atmosphere, they trap the energy and hence causing the greenhouse. This greenhouse is been used as a conjunction, nothing but making a combining of two things with a global phenomena known as the greenhouse effect. So this energy that is coming from the sun that drives the earth's weather and also the climate, and that is actually heating the earth's surface. In turn, what happens? The earth is radiating the energy back to the space. So the atmospheric gases like water vapor, carbon dioxide, and other that is been trapping with some of the outgoing energies that should be gone, but that has been trapping there, and that is retaining again the heat here. So that is known as the greenhouse gases. So there are main 6 greenhouse gases. Those are CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, plus 3 fluorinated industrial gases that are the HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and the sulfur hexafluoride SF6. So Water vapor is also considered as the greenhouse here. So what happens? The carbon dioxide, um, though it is not that much of potent of greenhouse gases, but it is one of the significant one. And human activity is also causing an imbalance in the nature of the greenhouse, I mean, nature cycle as well. And for example, if we see salt, um, salt and human health. For example, if we take considering the salt and the human health here, as salt is very essential for the human life, slight of salt in our diet, it makes if we are not including salt in our food, that is not tasty, that becomes tasteless. When we are including the salt, that makes the food very much tastier. So if there is too much of salt, that is harmful to our health as well. In a similar way, greenhouse gases are so much essential for our planet. The planet may be able to deal with slightly increased levels of gases, but too much of gases will directly affect the health of the whole of the planet. Likewise, the salt and the human life. Too much of salt is very harmful to our health, and too much of gases will also be harmful to the whole planet. Now we'll see the global warming and the climate change. So they refer to an increase in the average global temperatures, the natural events, and also the human activities that are actually contributing for the increase in the average global temperatures. And this carbon dioxide is one of the factor of global warming, and solar radiations are actually warming the earth's surface and the atmosphere as such. So there are other gases like nitrogen, oxygen that have been present in the atmosphere, which are not capable to absorb this radiation, the infrared radiations that has been produced, so that are not capable to absorb that, and hence that is causing a global temperature known as global warming. It is making the temperature little warm. So this is actually cause a rise in the sea levels. You know how the Antarctic glaciers have been melting down because of this human activities and also with the natural events here. So this is a serious implication of the people who are living on the coastal areas, because a high sea level can cause a big harm to the people who are residing in the coastal areas and also in the islands. So other effects of global warming may also cause the severe floods. We do tend to see many unseen floods in the recent days. That how it is been causing the flooding and how it is also spoiling the farmers' farm as well, the agricultural land, and how it is also causing the lives of the people who are staying nearby the water stream areas. So severe floods we tend to see, and there is a rainfall, and there will be a droughts and ecological changes that are affecting our agricultural productivity and also the survival of the forest. Okay. So as the warmer climate may increase, the infections or the diseases such as this malaria, dengue, yellow fever, uh, and viral encephalitis will also increase, as warmer climate is causing for the increase with such diseases. You know how malaria causes? Malaria causes because of the bad water that is been stayed for a long time, making that we tend to see the polluted of the water, and there we tend to see there are a lot of mosquitoes that have been going around, and hence if that is been uh, bitten to us, it may be causing a malaria. And dengue, you know how it is been caused. So the increasing concerns of this climate change has actually led the World Meteorological Organizations WMO and the UNEP to establish the Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change IPCC in 1988. So intergovernmental, what is that, Bolito? It means that the governor within that governments with one or two more governments. So they had established this IPCC in 1988 that has led United Nations Convention on Climate Change UNFCCC adopted in the 1992. and that was actually ratified by the 50 countries that has been came up into force in March 1994. So today, 186 countries are been a party to this convention, and it convention actually checks to stabilize the concentration of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere at an appropriate level. Within this convention, there were discussions that were held that it should be reducing. Few countries, whoever the member parties of the convention are, they must reduce or they must maintain the below the 2 degrees, or they should contribute up to a level of the consumption or the releasing of amount of the greenhouse gases. Next, we have the depletion of ozone layer. We know that our Earth has been surrounded by an atmosphere that contains nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and so dust particles, water vapors, and many other substances that is been emitted as a result of our human activities. So the atmosphere of Earth can be divided into three zones, that is troposphere, stratosphere, and the mesosphere. The stratosphere is actually extended from the 15 to 50 kilometers, and within that there is a present of the ozone layer that is present in the stratosphere. So the peak concentration of ozone is present in the stratosphere. So the ozone layer of the stratosphere, it actually absorbs 99% of the ultraviolet solar radiation. Where we get the solar radiation from the sun? Okay. So this ultraviolet radiation is very highly energetic and it is very dangerous to the life on Earth. So this measurement of this ozone that is there in the atmosphere that is been began in the 1957. So the general trend in this ozone concentration has showed a decrease since the mid 1970s, and the depletion of this ozone or the thinning of this ozone layer has referred to the ozone holes. We tend to see there have been ozone holes that is been observed by the scientists. The thinning of the ozone layer as causing a ozone holes. So the decrease of this concentration of the ozone is actually allowing more of the ultraviolet radiations to reach to the earth. Because of this ozone layer, we were being protected, but now we are tend to see, we have been seeing these holes within the ozone layer that has been allowing more of the ultraviolet radiations to reach the earth, that has been very much harmful to human health, plants, animals, and also very microorganisms, materials, and also the air qualities. So exposure to this ultraviolet radiations, it causes the cataracts and the skin cancers because of highly exposing to that radiations, it causes skin cancers, and that has been affecting our immune system, and there is a risk of the infectious diseases as such, and where people develop this skin cancer to the extreme exposure of ultraviolet radiations, and this is actually affecting the psychological and the development processes in the plants. Plants tend to, if more of the radiations are been there, the plants, what happens, they tend to make their, there will be upside down change within their own development processes. So the composition of this species, it can change, and hence this is where the biodiversity would be affected. And this ultraviolet radiations, it also would affect the food chain. In addition to this, there will be a many aquatic animals that can be damaged. So the ultraviolet radiation, it actually increases the rate of degradation of the polymers. Okay. So the depletion of this ozone layer has been a matter of concern to the whole of the world here. So now we will see the this is what your depletion of ozone layer was. So now we will see the World Organization's concern for the environment. So the Brundtland Report 1987, the Rio Earth Summit 1992, Climate Change Convention 1994, Kyoto Protocol 97, Rio Earth Summit 2012, and the Paris Agreement 2016. These have been major dealings for the global concerns of the environment, and the Brundtland report that has actually warned that the whatever the traditional patterns, the old patterns of economic growth are not much more capable or not much more sustainable in the long term. We cannot adopt that, as because of the raising concerns as the country has been speeding up and how the economic requirement has been going on, that is not much sustainable for the long term. So the Earth Summit 1992 has produced the conventions dealing with the climate change, biodiversity, forestry, and it has recommended for the list of development practices within the matters relating to this. So at that summit, there was an agreement on combining the economic growth with this ecological responsibility. So that this approach is commonly known to be as a sustainable development. So there was an important achievement. The summit was the agreement on the Climate Change Convention (CCC) International Environment Treaty, which is in the year 1994. So its objectives are the to stabilize the greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmospheres. So this treaty has actually led to the Kyoto Protocol 1997, the Paris Agreement 2016, so that they could carry on the climate change concerns. So there are also SDG, which is called as the Sustainable Development Goals. Summit 2019, it has reviewed uh, the progress in implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals here. So this is what the World Organization concerns for environment are. Now we'll understand the biodiversity. So biodiversity, it actually refers to the varied or the various life of on Earth, and it is the biological diversity, varied things and various numerous numbers. So the number of species of these plants, animals, and the microorganisms, the different ecosystems on this planet, such as the deserts, rainforest, and we have coral reefs. Coral reefs are seen uh, down the water, down the sea. Okay, so they are so much biologically diverse, different in on the earth here. Okay, so the biodiversity or this biological diversity, it has a very good infinite magnitude. Okay, so it has a total number of species globally that may vary from the 10 to 100 million, and majority of the species are actually found in the tropical forests. So cutting of this forest deprives many of these species from their habitats, because they must be residing on that particular habitat. If you are cutting down those trees, if you are cutting down those if you are making emptying those river valleys or whatever, it is actually depriving them from their habitat, because from a long time they have been staying there and that is their natural habitat that they have been created. So the loss of biodiversity cannot be reversed. You cannot bring it back, whatever the harm you are causing. So once the species are lost, they are lost forever. Likewise, we have lot of endangered species. So we still have few of the endangered species. One of the endangered species, I would say, is the sparrow. These days, we are unable to see the sparrow on the earth. It's very difficult. If these have been lost, there are many much endangered species who are being carefully being seen, carefully being treated, because we cannot make it forever for them to live. As we had giant monoliths, those were lost, right? So, and within not in the animals, but within the plants also, we have lot of species. If those species are lost, they are lost forever within the coral reefs as well. So the conservation of this biodiversity is very much important for both the economic and in the ethical aspects. Because once they are lost forever. So we have to preserve those species for our future. We may not find them, but we have to protect those species. So deserts, those are naturally occurred on the earth here. So there are five natural warm desert regions on the earth. So the actual deserts is 43% of the land on the earth here. So additional desert has been formed on the basis of the human activities and also the climate change that has been estimated at about 33%. And the deterioration of this land is due to the human activities and how they are been deserting the good land without any life on that land. And climate change is also causing the desertification. So this is affecting 1 billion people who constitute one-sixth of the world population. See, it constitutes one-sixth of the world population here. So what is happening? This desertification is been occurring in the regions of Asia, Africa, and the South America. Over 250 million people are directly affected by this desertification. Who are directly been affected? Not the rich people, but only the poorest, the marginalized, and the political weaker citizens, because they are incapable to do something for their own citizens here. That's what they have been uh, affected. So this causes the desertification. Um, what are the causes of desertification? The bad farming practices, the overgrazing, the cutting of the trees, which is called the deforestation. The bad farming practices because the harmful number of fertilizers if you are using, and again if you want to plant a tree or plant a crop there, it may not tend to have that capacity because you have been digging that soil and that soil has been not capable to again hold one more uh, crop there, and hence it is the very bad chemicals that has been used in the um, fertilizers that are causing the very bad farming practices. Okay, and the cutting of the trees, which is called as the deforestation. So trees are so much helpful. It produces us the oxygen, which is so much important, right? So this is caused by the human activities and also by the climatic variation. You see, there is sudden floods and there is a sudden of the winds that has been going on that is causing all such activities. So it occurs because of the over exploitation of the dry land ecosystem and the inappropriate land use. If you are not having a good knowledge of that land, if you are using it ruthlessly, then only it is been causing all such activities. So it's been a major economic, social, and the environmental concern for many of the countries because for example, there will be import and export done within the agricultural products. If such products are affecting, obviously it will be a economic concern. So the United Nations Conference on Desertification (UNCOD) in 1997 adopted a plan of action to combat this desertification, which is called as PACD. So later it has been observed in that land degradation problem that has been intensified. It has become so much intense. In the Earth Summit 1992, the United Nations Conference on this Environment and Development (UNCED) has called to have to promote the sustainable development at the community level here. Okay, so in addition to major of the threats to the biodiversity. So many of the species, in addition to this desertification, many of there has been a very much threat for the monopolization of various life forms. and also the biological resources. Many species are being patented, and there is biopiracy, that is nothing but there is a theft of biological resources. And if you see, there have been many theft of biological resources, and that is traditional knowledge from the developing countries. So, as US patent on the use of turmeric, it could heal the wounds, is a biopiracy here. So, what is happening? The biodiversity in oceans has been also affected by dumping of the toxic and the hazardous waste here, and the oil pollution and the thermal pollution. So, the toxic and the hazardous waste that has been including uh, in the chemicals that can cause the marine life. You know how the toxic uh, cause it makes hazardous, and many of the oil pollutions, it results from the accidents. How do we tend to see this pollution? Because there will be an accident that would be causing by the tankers, or there can be an oil spills with the ships that we tend to see that may kill many of the aquatic organisms. And there would be a thermal pollution because of the sink of wastewater from the industries. You know how industries they produce the waste going towards the oceans or towards the seas or the rivers, and the water within the ocean that can be heat up, and higher temperatures can kill those microbes. So there is a change in the temperature that is actually causing, you know, how the fishes will be there. They will be staying in for such habitat. So if that a change within their habitat, that if they see there will be a loss of those fishes, or else they might be changing. They tend to migrate from one place to the different regions, whereby thereby you do not see such species in that region, and it can also kill those species which cannot able to move as well. So even a small change in temperature, it can have a big impact on the marine life here. So there are various steps to conserve. Various steps should be taken so that we can conserve our biodiversity in the oceans and also in the seas here. So there is a link between the climate change and the biodiversity has been established. So the Convention on Biological Diversity 2010 that has actually affirmed the climate change should has an impact on biodiversity loss of Arctic ice threats biodiversity across an entire thing and the beyond. So the related pressure of this ocean acidification, which is resulting in the higher concentration of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that is been observed. Okay, so the ecosystems are actually showing are already been showing a very negative impacts under this climate change here. So in addition to this ecosystems negative impacts, there is also a warming of temperature that is actually frequently causing the extreme weather events. So we see that within the summer region, we tend to see the rainfall, a very drastic rainfall that has been coming, and the summer has been so much hotter than the previous one. This is how it has been warming the temperatures, and how we see the drought has been a significant impact on the biodiversity. Now we'll see the sustainable development. So the concept of this sustainable development has been advanced for the first time during the Stockholm Intergovernmental Conference on the Human Environment in 1972. That has actually linked between the development and the environmental problems. So the World Commission on Environment and the Development 1987, which is also known as the Brundtland Report, has actually defined the concept of sustainable development. That sustainable development, how did they define? It is like development that is actually meeting the needs of the present without compromising and the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. That means that whatever you are using, the resources, the natural resources, you should use it without compromising, and that should not be ruthlessly used, but it should be used for, and it should be kept for the um, future generations to meet their own needs as such. We should not compromise, but we should use in such a way that it should be used for the future generations. Okay, so the concept of this sustainable development is leading to the new resources consumption strategies. It involves like conservation or reduction of excessive resource use, recycling and the resource of the materials, and more of the renewable usage of the renewable resources. In the present day, we tend to see there is a high usage of solar energy rather than the non-renewable energy resources such as oil and the coal. Okay, so the sustainable development is requiring the needs of the basic needs of the people who are deprived in the world, and it has been extending, and it is the opportunities, and it has been giving those opportunities so that it could satisfy that thing for a better life here. With the solar energy, you can, instead of using this electricity, or instead of using the coal or the oil, within this solar energy you can utilize, or you can use the very good electricity benefits, right? That's what our government has been so preferring the solar energies here. So the UN Conference on the Environment and Development 1992 has confirmed to pursue the economic and the social progress, and it should be equity within the limits. It should not go beyond the limits, but within the limits of the world natural resources, and that should be worked on the aim for everyone, from the individual to the governments. Okay. So the World Summit on the Sustainable Development, which is also known as Earth Summit 2002, it has reviewed since the 1992. In 1992, they have been implementing this sustainable development, and they have discussed many things for the forward thing. So the issues of this equity and the common interests again were taken up. So the summit has actually again reaffirmed the sustainable development as a central element for the international agenda. There should be a sustainable development that is actually giving a new hope, new thing to the providing uh, uh, providing a new perspective to the global action so that they could fight the poverty and they could protect the environment. One of the important outcome of this is they have got the solidarity fund. That fund is being used to eradicate the poverty. So there are many African countries who are deprived of those poverty. So this kind of funds have been held for them so that they could eradicate the poverty, and they could promote social and the human development in the developing countries. Because we know developing countries are the newly emerged countries. They are newly utilizing, and they are also the underdeveloped countries who are trying for their development, who are actually deprived of many things, so that these funds could eradicate poverty, and it could promote the social and the human development in the developing goals. Okay. So this is what today's class is about, this global concerns. And in the class, we have seen how the global problem, it requires the global solution. And the global environment concerns are nothing but the air, water pollution, energy shortages, and the toxic wastage dumpage, and the nuclear power hazards, and how the climate change and inequality of distribution of uh, environment has been seen. And we have also seen the environmental concerns that has been focused on the Earth semester of 1992. And we have also seen that the UNEP and the NASA, under the joint venture, they have got a scientific report which has been entitled as Protecting Our Planet, Securing Our Future. And we tend to see it has been that in the year 1998, and it has focused on 8 critical environmental issues as such, right? So we were able to understand the 1972 has made a hallmark, or the mm, landmark for the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm, that has actually discussed the healthy and the productive environment as such. Okay. So we have also seen there are enormous environmental problems that could be solved, that has to be that has remained to be solved here actually. At the same time, we have seen a very complex environmental issues like acid precipitation, ozone depletion, global warming, right? So there has been a threat for the global diversity, I mean the biodiversity as such. We have also seen the environmental problems has been threatened, that has made upset to the international relations and the security as well. And we have gone to see the energy resources that has been acting as a triggers, and as such environmental concerns demand the cooperation of the world humanity. We could only can protect our environment when only then there would be a proper cooperation within the world here, and it could benefit the humanity and also the earth here. Okay. So this was about the issues of global concern. Thank you.